There is a paucity of mental health services in the community.
Are you worried?
A little bit, yeah.
There's really no system that's really looking out for them. We're just leaving them to fend for themselves.
Today, man, I'm a better man. I'm getting better.
I just can't think to myself that a thoughtful society would agree this is how we should treat people.
We're here at Cook County Jail in Chicago, which is the largest single-site jail facility in America. Right now it houses 9,000 inmates, and it's estimated that 30% of them have mental illnesses. That makes this what's thought to be the largest mental health care provider in America right now.
Fellas, when we go around this corner, you're going to go on the left-hand wall. Keep your hand behind your backs.
So right now we're headed to the morning intake area. That's where everyone who was arrested last night is brought in and where their mental health is assessed. It's the first point of contact in the sort of mental health treatment process that happens in Cook County Jail.
42, 43, 45.
Over 100 arrestees were shuffling through lines, getting checked for weapons and drugs, and moving in and out of various bullpens.
And what's your charge today? Possession?
Yeah.
Okay, anything else?
No.
Ellie Montgomery is a social worker who heads up the sheriff's pre-bond initiative.
My job is to help you, okay? Before you ever started using, was there depression or anxiety? You suffer from that?
Yeah.
She screens each arrestee that passes through the intake center before they see a judge, a process that's unique to Cook County Jail.
You ever try to hurt yourself? Okay, how many times?
Like 3.
3 attempts?
I think a lot about that.
Okay, you think a lot about ending your life and death? Okay. And then who helped you outside with your meds?
Nobody.
Just in here? See this?
Yeah.
This is a suicide hotline number. If you ever feel like hurting yourself, you got to get off the heroin. All right, you're self-medicating, right? You understand you're self-medicating for the depression and the voices with the heroin. You got violent charges or what?
Nobody likes me.
You think that nobody likes you and that's why? Sweetie, the judge doesn't make a decision based on whether they like you. They look at the charges.
Everybody just want me to die. I just need to die.
Okay, that's not going to happen. Sarge?
Yeah.
I'm going to have him single-celled for suicide watch. I'll notify courts. Okay, come on.
Can you explain to us what just happened with that young man?
Okay, so he's actively suicidal. He's bipolar. He's very, very worried about his case, but more than anything, he's not oriented at time. So some concerns. He's got a plan. He's had several suicide attempts before.
So what would have happened to that young man had he not been screened here right now?
He would probably have a suicide attempt because of the bipolar disorder and the illness. Things are, his thinking is a little off. So he's kind of putting the pieces together right now. And the more he puts that together, and the more anxiety and fear he has, the more likely he's really gonna do something.
Line up, gentlemen!
As morning intake came to a close, we were told by Ellie and her team that 45% of the individuals they screened that day showed clear signs of mental illness.
Hey, Ron, you should know. Closing clinics gotta go.
Illinois was one of the top 10 states to cut mental health funding between 2009 and 2012, with a 32% cut. It was an attempt to help fix the state's fiscal crisis. These budget cuts hit Illinois' already beleaguered mental health system hard. The irony of this approach is that it actually cost the state more money. During this time, the state saw a $131 million increase in spending on hospitalizations and institutionalizations. That was the beginning of what some refer to as an all-out public health crisis. Amid rampant budget cuts in 2012, Rahm Emanuel closed 6 out of 12 public mental health care facilities in Chicago, sparking outrage across communities and a flurry of media coverage.
Thank you.
We went to meet Cook County Sheriff Tom Dart, who runs the jail and has frequently spoken out for the mentally ill population he houses and treats in his facility. This thing is massive. It's a massive complex. Hey, Sheriff Dart. How you doing? Very nice to meet you.
My pleasure. Nice to meet you.
We headed to Division 2, one of the tiers designed and operated especially for inmates who struggle with mental illness.
I'll check on your stuff today. I mean, I don't know if I can do anything before the next court date, but this is complete bullshit, and we all know it.
Sheriff Dart visits these facilities frequently and is familiar with the inmates and their cases.
Do you have any violence in your background?
No violence at all.
None at all?
None at all.
Where have you been living before you got
On a train.
on the train? What are you accused of stealing?
One pair of jeans.
Okay.
But you were just telling the sheriff you've been here for 2 months over one pair of stolen jeans.
Yes, sir.
And you were homeless before that, living on the train.
Yes, sir.
And what are they telling you in terms of your trial, of what's going to happen, anything of that nature?
They're not telling me anything at all. I've just been waiting, for 3 months.
And nothing, no information.
No information at all. Vision, too, been kind of helping me with, my mental health issues. Because I'm being medicated for bipolar and depression.
Were you receiving any treatment when you were outside of the system?
No, I was, using drugs instead of taking my medication.
Using drugs to help medicate yourself?
Yes.
$150,000 bond was set on him.
That's what he's got?
Yeah.
So that gentleman we just spoke to for stealing a pair of jeans has a $150,000 bond set on him. That's why he's here. In one of the mental health dorm units, a group therapy session was taking place.
These are where we house our low-level mentally ill offenders. These units are almost always filled. And it's one of the points I've always tried to explain to people with these national crime trends all going down around the country, same here. We have been able to close down a couple of our divisions. And the only place we've ever been overcrowded in the last 7 years has been our acute mentally ill floor. And that's overcrowded almost every day.
And what are we watching right here, right now?
This is a program that we contract out with a group called WestCare, and it's a program that they sit and they talk with the individual who is really trying to go through a whole litany of things here, and I say, okay, give me the philosophy and the theory of why this person should be in here. And all I keep coming back is, well, they committed a crime. Well, I said, well, when they're showing up at my door within hours of having committed the offense and they're acutely mentally ill, how can you show the intent? Goodbye. Take care. Take care. Bye, guys. Bye, guys. They're there for just however long it takes, and then they're shot back out into the street, no support net mechanisms, whatever, and they come right back in, and all the numbers show that. And so they come back in, and they do it over and over and over and over again, and it costs outrageous amounts of money.
It's estimated that the cost of incarcerating an individual runs around $150 a day. But Sheriff Dart told us that when you're dealing with somebody with serious mental illness, the cost could be 3 times that number. Experts estimate that to treat the same individual outside of a correctional facility is just a fraction of this cost, about $10,000 annually. That's $27 per day.
So how is this financially sustainable? How is it financially? How does it make sense? It doesn't. It's horrible. I mean, honestly, God, I just can't think to myself that a thoughtful society would agree this is how we should treat people.
Division 8 is the last tier we visited during our time at the jail. It's a huge facility, designated for inmates with severe mental illnesses such as bipolar disorder and schizophrenia. The inmates are grouped into dorm-like settings where they play cards and board games and sleep on small cots. We spoke to 2 of the inmates housed here.
I'm here because I'm bipolar and antipsychotic.
I'm diagnosed with ADHD, schizoaffective, and anxiety disorder.
Were you getting help when you were outside, when you were in Chicago?
You know, the only place I know to get my meds is Aunt Martha's. And for me to get to Aunt Martha's from my town to Hazelcrest is 5-6 bus transfers and a whole day.
So what's it like for you when you're not on your medication, when you're having an episode? What goes through your head?
I usually get real manic and real anxious. Like I get real fidgety and nervous, and I'm actually kind of violent usually. Like if I get into an altercation with somebody, it'll usually turn out to be violent. For example, my criminal damage to property, residential burglary. At the time, I was taking schizophrenia medication, bipolar, anxiety, and depression. And what happened was me and my fiance at the time had gotten into an altercation, and she was staying with a friend of hers. And due to me not having my medication and to have a sound mind, I went and I busted out all the windows on his house. And I ended up breaking into his house, and I blacked out. And I don't remember what else happened, but I remember I woke up in the Calumet City Police Station, and they're telling me I'm charged with burglary and criminal damage to property, and I'm facing 4 to 15 years.
And what's it like for you when you're off your meds?
It's horrible. But that right now ain't my main concern. My main concern is where I'm gonna live. What am I gonna eat? Meds are one thing. That's not even. First, I gotta put a roof over my head.
Are you worried?
A little bit, yeah. Because I know, like, I have 3 felonies already, and I've been to prison 3 times. And every time was because I was off my medication, and I ended up self-medicating. And once you get in the system, it's almost impossible to get out.
Officer working 3 Echo.
You hear what these guys have to say, and it speaks for itself. They need treatment, they need help, and they've sought it out. And sometimes they can get it, and sometimes they can't. And every time they come back in, it's another job lost, it's a home lost, and they're left with nothing, and there's really no system that's really looking out for them. We're just leaving them to fend for themselves.
The folks here are real people, their lives matter. They're objectively mentally ill though, and yet you hear these stories from them, and yet we're supposed to treat them like a number, and we're supposed to wait. I often tell people, we have about 200 and some people leave this jail every day, and what am I supposed to do is they're leave and say, hey, you know what? You wait, we're gonna get around to study, and we're gonna get this thing taken care of the next 20 or 30 years. So you just hang in there, okay?